Today is Monday, November 4th, and these are today's headlines. It's election eve, and many candidates spent the weekend gaining their last votes. Uber and Lyft is offering discounted rides to polling places on Tuesday.
Project Veritas continues to release undercover campaign videos, and LGBTQ protesters come together to face the Pittsburgh Delta Foundation. All this and more on Point with Politics starts now.
In congressional news, Republicans.
Welcome to On Point with Politics. I'm Danis Marrero alongside Nick Tamarello.
We begin this evening taking a look at what you need to know about voting in Allegheny County. Many registered voters have voted early in Allegheny County. According to the Post-Gazette, David Voy, the director of the Allegheny County Elections Division, said that 26,600 people in the county requested absentee ballots, compared to about 10,300 in the last midterm election. He predicts about 51% of registered voters in the county will go to the polls on Tuesday. Voters in Allegheny County will also choose yes or no to amend the Home Rule Charter to establish a children's fund in order to improve the well-being of children through provisions of services throughout the county, including early childhood learning, after-school programs, and nutritious meals. The county plans on levying and collecting an additional $250,000 on all taxable real estate beginning January 1st, 2019. Both the Republican and Democratic parties will be providing transportation to the polls for those who need it. You can contact the Democratic County headquarters at 412-481-5646 and the Republican County headquarters at 412-458-0068. If you are a first-time voter, you are required to present photo ID like a driver's license, state ID card, or passport. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
The Democrats and Republicans aren't the only ones offering rides for voters. New this election season, ride-sharing apps Uber and Lyft will be offering discounts or free rides to polling places on Tuesday. According to a Lyft blog post, it was estimated that over 15 million people were registered but did not vote in 2016 as a result of transportation issues. Lyft is offering 50% off or up to $5 off in rides across the county and free rides to underserved communities. To get a discount, enter your zip code on Lyft's partner website. Uber is offering $10 off a single ride. The most recent version of the Uber app is needed. The promotional code for Uber is VOTE2018 in the app.
Denny's, not only has Allegheny County seen a rise in expected voter turnout, but it seems to be a trend around the country.
That's right, Nick. I took a look into the minority demographics expected voter turnouts. This midterm election might see a historic voter turnout from the Hispanic community. According to recent Pew Research Center surveys, there are more Hispanic registered voters for this upcoming midterm election compared to 4 years ago. More than 29 million Hispanics are eligible to vote, a new high from 2014 by 4 million. According to the surveys, 52% of Latino registered voters say that they have given the coming November election quite a lot of thought, which is a 16 percentage point increase from what they said about the last midterm election in 2014. 55% of Latino registered voters in 2018 also say they are more enthusiastic about voting when compared with the previous congressional elections. According to polls, this change can be correlated to Latinos having become dissatisfied with the nation's current administration and have more concerns about their place in this country. However, Hispanic voters are least likely than all of U.S. demographics to know about their congressional candidates, and Hispanic voter turnouts have also been historically lower than that of other groups. In 2014, only about 27% of the Hispanic eligible voters casted a ballot, which is a record low and far below the turnout rate among both white and black voters, whose turnouts are 41 and 56% respectively.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Go to our new website, uview.pointpark.edu.
Go, 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 go!
Join UView and find your herd.
Be like, join EOP. And 3, 2, join EOP.
Grab them now or else I can...
Yeah.
Join on point with politics. 3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, UView is for you.
In our campus news, the Point Park Globe reports there's a lack of filled seats within USG. However, that's simply not the case. The Point Park newspaper published an article on their digital and print platforms on October 30th stating that the United Student Government discussed their struggles to fill seats and committees on that week's meeting. However, USG Press Secretary announced that this was just simply not the case. Press Secretary Allison Schubert said that USG has more senators now than in years past, and that filling seats will not be a problem this year. In an exclusive interview with Ms. Schubert, she stated, quote, "There are more seats available, but all of the schools are properly represented on the Senate," end quote. Last week, USG also did fill a seat, introducing Senator Jessica Zozak to the legislative body. She is a junior transfer student and a political science major. She's here joining us this evening. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
So, you were just recently introduced into USG. However, the Globe did state that there were a lack of membership. Do you believe this is the case?
I am new to USG, so I can't speak to the membership in the past, and it does seem that there are a number of seats filled currently, and that it seems like a well-represented student body, student government to represent the student body. However, there are a number of open seats. There is a number of representation that could be met. However, I think that the issue comes into play where we don't want kind of warm bodies filling those seats. We kind of want people who are interested in and want to come in and serve in those roles, So I think the people who are serving in those positions are there because they want to be, because they're passionate about student government. So it's a good student government right now.
So going back to what you said, to not just having warm bodies filling up the seats. There was a quote from President Kearns that said that in order for them to fill all the seats that are necessary, there would need to be a special election. However, she didn't believe that this was necessary. Do you believe, do you agree with the president that it is not necessary to have another special election?
Well, in order to fill the seats, a special election would have to be held. But I think what she was saying is that there hasn't been extra interest that has been shown in order to have another election, if I'm understanding her correctly.
So going to that, you said that there's not a lot of interest. You did tell the Globe, it's a quote that I'm reading from, it says, quote, "Not many people step up to do this sort of service. I feel like there's a kind of conundrum where it's 10% of the people who tend to do 90% of the work. I just want to be one of those people, and I want to leave a positive change, and I want to leave a positive impact." Since you want to leave a positive impact, why don't you think that more of the Point Park community wants to leave another impact on their time here, since, as you say, 10% of the people do 90% of the work? Why are not people more involved?
I don't think it's necessarily that people don't want to leave a positive impact. I think it's necessarily the role in which they choose to do so. For instance, we've had a number of student clubs that have come in and requested, their funds for the different activities that they want to hold, and almost all of them have some sort of either community or student, involvement to leave a positive impact. But this sort of work, it's kind of, in the trenches. It's not pretty. It's not popular. You're almost always under scrutiny. You're dealing with, people's funding, and it's difficult. It's almost, it's very rarely easy, but it can be very, very rewarding. It's something that I have done for a number of years, and I always find that being involved in this sort of role, it makes me feel more involved in like for instance, with being involved in school, it makes me feel like I'm taking ownership in what I'm involved in. But that's for me. That's what works for me.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us tonight here on the show, and I want to wish you luck on your journey as a senator. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
On Friday, the Pentagon rejected a request from the Department of Homeland Security. The request was for the use of active duty military personnel to act as reserve. Oh wait, redo.
This is my
Trey,
story.
you're scrolling way too fast.
No, this is my story, Kim.
You're scrolling way too fast, and this.
This is my story.
No, this is my story.
Oh.
Okay.
We wrote the same one?
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna start over with Nick.
Okay, and Trey, you're just scrolling too fast. Okay.
Trey, you got this, buddy. I love you.
Just follow me.
Oh.
5, 4, 3, 2.
On Friday, the Pentagon rejected a request from the Department of Homeland Security. The request was for the use of active duty military personnel to act as reserve forces to protect and crowd control in the preparation for the migratory caravan that's making its way through Central America towards the U.S. border. The Pentagon announced that active duty military, which fall under military Title X forces, do not have the authority to perform law enforcement functions in U.S. soil. More than 8,000 active duty troops would have been deployed to the southern border, with the addition of around 2,000 National Guard soldiers. Even though some senior officials have defended this action under national security, the Pentagon announced that unless granted special powers by the White House, this action cannot and will not be taken, as the cost of such mobilization could cost anywhere from 42 to 110 million taxpayer dollars. This past Thursday, President Donald Trump told CNN that the military is currently putting up thousands of tents to hold the immigrants. However, military officials say that as of right now, there are no such plans.
The Georgia governor race is facing new obstacles. Andrew Brinker took a look at what is expected to be one of the most watched races in the country. Andrew, what do you have for us?
Well, Donnies, Brian Kemp, Georgia's Secretary of State and Republican nominee for governor, announced that he was opening an investigation into the Georgia Democratic Party. According to the New York Times, Kemp's office said Sunday that they would begin an investigation into an alleged hack of Georgia's failed registration system by the state's Democrats. Kemp failed to provide any evidence to enforce his claims. Meanwhile, Sunday, outrage from Georgia Democrats, who were quick to denounce the allegation that they referred to as an abuse of power and a political stunt. Kemp is currently in the midst of one of the most competitive races in the country as he takes on Stacey Abrams, a popular Democrat who, if elected, would become the United States' first female African-American governor. As this new allegation comes just 2 days before the midterm elections, some are suggesting that the Secretary of State is using the investigation as a last-minute attempt to gain voters. The Times reports that Kemp is notorious for voter suppression in Georgia, as he has removed over 2 million inactive voters from voter rolls since 2012. The race for governor of Georgia will come to a conclusion on Tuesday and is set to be one of the most watched and closest contests of this year's midterm elections. Back to you at the desk.
And with the midterm election tomorrow, our reporter Haley Keyes has the details on who America could see as the first Somali women in Congress.
Amid the politicians running for office this month, Ilhan Omar could become the first Somali American to hold a seat in Congress. The 36-year-old was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives in 2016, and after holding the position for a year, she has set higher goals for herself. According to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, three-term 5th District Congressman Keith Ellison announced he was giving up his seat to run for state attorney. Omar decided to run for his seat, and she is very likely to win. Statistically, no Republican has held the seat since the 1960s, and Minnesota has a very progressive mindset that matches Omar's. Her campaign reaches a diverse group of people, including women, college students, Muslims, people of color, and Somali Americans. Despite her strong support, Omar still works hard, going door to door in order to directly speak to the community. Her website lays out her plans for things like providing healthcare coverage for all, guaranteeing access to public education, preventing gun violence, and implementing clean elections. As Omar says herself, quote, "We need a democracy that guarantees a more equitable and just society. That gets us closer to the American promise," end quote. Back to you at the desk.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Will the Senate swing blue or red on Wednesday after the results of the midterm election are in? But first, we will take a look at what's happening in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh citizens gathered and marched in protest this past Tuesday. The protest primarily consisted of members of Pittsburgh's LGBTQ community who gathered in front of the City Council building to protest the Pittsburgh Delta Foundation. On November 2nd, the protest was organized by Sisters Pittsburgh, a transgender advocate organization in the city, and the Commissioner of Pennsylvania's Commission on LGBTQ Affairs, Ciara Thomas. After the Pittsburgh Delta Foundation sponsored and provided equipment for another LGBTQ protest regarding the Won't Be Erased movement the day before. According to the Delta Foundation's website, the foundation was created in 1996 as a nonprofit organization for the purpose of uniting and fostering good fellowship and social interaction among LGBT residents in the metropolitan area, and has since been planning Pride Fest since 2007. However, according to Commissioner Ciara Thomas, the Pittsburgh Delta Foundation has a history of homophobic and racist actions towards minorities and the LGBT community within the city, going all the way back to 2015. There have also been accusations against Pittsburgh Delta Foundation's president, Gary Van Horn, of stealing money from the foundation. Commissioner Ciara has taken the fight to social media, where she's made posts stating, quote, "Delta has always been problematic," end quote. And quote, "It is our duty to continue resisting the Delta Foundation in Pittsburgh. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win." With the hashtag Black Trans Lives Matter PA.
With the midterm elections less than 24 hours away, our Pulse reporter Dennis McDermott takes a final look at the expected political party projections.
It's coming down to the wire, folks. Democrats have been fighting tooth and nail, while the Republicans have been struggling to hold the few seats that they have up for re-election. Tomorrow is Election Day, and it could not possibly be closer. Out of the 35 seats up for re-election, 17 are close. And of those 17, 6 are extremely close. and 2 are so close that they are within the margin of error in polling. I currently have the election tied at 50 states to both Republicans and Democrats, which isn't so much as a tie as a win for the Republicans because of the tie-breaking power held by the Republican Vice President Mike Pence. There are 8 states that you'll want to keep a really close eye on as the results roll in tomorrow. These states include Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Florida. Out of the 6 that are extremely close, I currently have Nevada, Arizona, Missouri, and Florida barely going to the Democrats, and Texas and Tennessee barely going to the Republicans. Indiana and Missouri are so close that they lie within the margin of error for polling. That being said, I currently have both just barely going to the Democrats as of right now. That could easily change by tomorrow, but those are definitely 2 states you'll want to keep a very close eye on. In order to break the current tie, the Democrats not only have to win all of the states that they are extremely close in, but they would also have to steal 1 state currently held by the Republicans. The states that they would have the best chance in stealing would be either Texas or Tennessee. What I'm trying to say is that the Democrats taking the Senate, as of right now, is a long shot, but they will still be competing to hold as many seats as possible in tomorrow, nevertheless. Back to you at the desk.
President Trump tweeted a video to his followers last Wednesday that featured an illegal immigrant in court smiling as he admits to killing cops and not caring about it. President Trump said, quote, "It is outrageous what the Democrats are doing to our country. Vote Republican now." Text overlays throughout the video say that Democrats let this man into our country and that they let him stay. It also asks the question, who else would Democrats let in? According to CBS News, Democrats and Republicans denounced the video, saying that it was racist, and Republican Senator Jeff Flake called it, quote, "sickening." Chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Tom Perez, told CNN that the video is, quote, "distracting, divisive Donald at his worst. This is fear-mongering." The president is expected to make an announcement on Thursday saying that any migrant who attempts to cross the border between points of entry will not be allowed to request asylum. On Point with Politics reporter Jake Berlin looks into the U.S. Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke, who is under fire.
Thanks, Nick. U.S. Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke is coming under fire from Republicans after it was revealed that his campaign, quote, took it upon themselves, end quote, to use campaign funds to donate supplies to a nonprofit in El Paso. According to the Texas Tribune, the supplies were valued at less than $300 total, but that hasn't stopped a conservative wave of backlash, fueling what is already one of the country's most contentious and consequential races. The O'Rourke campaign has now raised more money than any Senate race in U.S. history, and what is a comparably small amount of money is causing a big amount of controversy in the Lone Star State. This information was initially revealed by the group Project Veritas, a sting operation which is controversial in itself. The group sends undercover journalists into campaigns to pose as fake staffers and pull negative information about Democratic strategy. The Tribune reports that last Thursday, a Project Veritas released a 24-minute video which showed undercover O'Rourke campaign footage, revealing the purchasing of food and supplies for Honduran immigrants. Project Veritas has also recently revealed videos targeting Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota and Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri, both currently locked in close races for re-election. It is still unclear if the Project Veritas video will have any effect on voters. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks for joining us this evening for another segment of On Point with Politics. I'm Dennis Marrero alongside Nick Tomorello.
We hope you stay on point with politics.
Good night.